Hello guys, this is Joyce from Enjoy Scrappin' 2. Today I'm here with Tupelo Designs LLC and I have an art journal page for you. I'm going to be creating a December art journal. I plan to do an art journal every month. I wanted to do one last month but I didn't get a chance to, so I wanted to do one. And this video is a little long because there are some things that I wanted to explain, and this art journal took me a very long time, and that's because I'm still learning how to do these art journal pages. So I thought it was important to go over some of the things that I did, but even then I couldn't get everything in. So here I have a Tim Holtz tissue paper, and I'm just using a Canson XL mixed media book, and I'm gonna go ahead and attach this using this Deco Art matte medium. And I was having some camera issues at this time. It was auto-focusing, so I had to delete this part, but I just went ahead and used the matte medium to attach the tissue paper, and you can see as it keeps auto-focusing. And then I also added some gesso on top, and then I'll be back when everything is dried. So here you can see that it keeps auto-focusing. I don't know why it was doing that for some reason. And so I just used an old paintbrush that I only use for matte medium and things. And I put the matte medium on the book, and then I attached the tissue paper, and then I put some white gesso on top so that it can cover up some of the designs on the tissue paper. So here I'm back. I put the gesso and everything is dried, and now I'm going to add some color. I really like using the tissue paper. It kind of gives something extra for me to work with. I've used the vintage bags that you get when you order from Tupelo Designs LLC. I've used that in my last art journal. You can use book pages. There are a lot of different ways you can do this. So I'm going to be using my gelatos here. This is a Faber-Castell Design Memory Crafts line. And I just chose out some random colors. I'll have the exact name of the color in the description, and I'll link to the sets that it's from. So you can see I chose out a blue, a darker blue, and now I'm using wet baby white to blend out the colors. So I felt like it blended way too much, so then here I'm going back in to add a little bit more of the darker blue. So the wetter the baby wipe it is, I think it blends it out really well. So if you want a little bit of a less blend, then you can either use your fingers or you can use a slightly dried baby wipe that's not too damp. Mine was super damped. So here I'm adding some metallic grape as well as the blues. So I want to create a winter scene. So here I've added some mint, I believe it's mint green, but I didn't like that, so I added gesso on top just to create a little bit of that white look. And here I have a 13 Arts paint. This is a gold. This is a fantastic paint. It's in a little jar, but the pigment is very strong, and I really like the shimmer on this. Tupelo Designs LLC used to carry quite a bit of these 13 Arts paints, but I think now they have the gold and the silver, I believe. And here I have this mixed media stencil. This is a Faber-Castell Design Memory Crafts Mixed Media Stencil Pack. There's 10 designs in this pack, and it costs less than a price of one stencil. So this is a fantastic way to get a lot of designs. So I'm choosing out the pattern that I want to use, and here you can see the packet. And these stencils are reusable. I've used texture paste with them, and it's perfectly fine. You just scrape off whatever you can off of it. So I'm going to add that gold paint from 13 Arts to the background, and I'm using my finger. I just put a little bit out onto a little palette on the left side of me. That's where I have all the mediums, and I'm using my finger to apply. For some reason, I like to use my finger to apply a lot of the mediums. So here you can see that my fingers are pretty clean, but when this is finished, my fingers are all inked up. I feel like I have more control using my fingers, and that's something I think it's because I'm a card maker. You tend to do things a certain way. And I think the thing that I'm learning about Art Journal is all the layering and the different techniques of how to layer different elements on top of each other. And this is a great way to play with all these mediums that I would normally not use when I'm making cards. So here I'm just using my finger to apply the paint to create some texture. I don't know about you, but I'm sure we all have those drawers where it's like a black hole. You don't know what's inside, and once you start to dig through it, you find things that you've purchased a while back that you've never used. So this is kind of like that case. I don't normally use a lot of paints and things on my card making, so this was a great way to use some of the products that I've collected. So here I'm kind of still thinking how I'm going to add this. I think that's the thing. It's like I think too much about it. It's like you have this vision of what you want to create, but yet as you create it, it doesn't necessarily all work together. And I learned that with each journal that I made. I've only made like 3 or 4 journals, and each journal page that I make, I learn something from it. So you'll see some of the things that I try that doesn't work, that I will explain a little. So if you're a beginner art journal like me, then maybe you can learn something from that. So I just wanted to put some at the top right corner and the top bottom corner here. This journal practically took me all day to make. It took me like all day to think about what I want to make, and it took me another day to make it. So I think that's another reason why I don't normally do like journal pages and things because it takes a long process for me because again because I'm new to mixed media. So I'm going to go ahead and fast forward a lot of this. And instead of just putting it, you can tell that I'm just putting here and there. I'm really carefully like trying to dissect it. But as I go along, I kind of loosen up a little bit and just kind of go with the flow. This gold paint is super shimmery and pretty. I really love it. And later on, I'll show you how it looks once it's dried. So I don't want to make this design completely even. That's why I'm carefully putting some parts here and there, some parts a little darker than others. So you can see that fantastic shimmer. It's absolutely beautiful. So when I come back, you'll see another color that I added, and that was with another paint. You can use any paint. As you can see there, I put a little bit more just to give a added texture. And here I have this Bo Bunny stamp set. I really like this beautiful scroll. And because I want to create like a winter, like a snowflake, snow type of a thing, I wanted to use this stamp. But again, right here, the camera got cut off, and then I come back and I have my texture paste already put, and they are dried. So here you can see that I've added some snowflakes. I've used the Rangers texture paste, and I'll tell you the reason why I use that particular texture paste, but you can use any texture paste, molding paste. There's a lot of different options, and you can see that I created like a snowbank at the bottom, and I made it uneven so that there's that texture. And for the snowflakes, I didn't have a snowflake die, so what I did was I just used a cardstock, and I used one of the dies that I had, and I just cut that out, and I used that as a stencil. A lot of times, if you don't have like a particular design that you're looking for, you can use your dies or your die cutting machines to create like a stencil. So here I'm using the scroll, and I'm using the archival. This is a hydrangea ink pad, and it's really pretty, like purplish color. I thought it would match well with that purple in the background. And I tried to use the acrylic block to stamp it, but because of the texture, I wasn't really getting a really great impression, and the texture paste wasn't completely dried, so I didn't want to push too hard around the texture paste. So I took it off the block, and I'm just using my hands to stamp some of these squirrels. These squirrels look really dark right now, but after it's dry, you'll kind of see it in the background. So I'm just putting some here and there for now until the texture paste is completely dried. So again, certain parts where the texture paste is, I couldn't get a clean impression, but that's okay. I just wanted to add that little bit of a texture. Here I have a book page, and I'm drawing a snowman. So I'm just drawing two circles, and I'm going to go ahead and cut that out. So I'm again trying to kind of be perfect, but then later I realized that I didn't want the circles to be perfectly circular. I thought that would look kind of unnatural. So I'll come back and I'll have this two circles that I cut from this book page. I like to use book pages because it has a text, and the book page is thin, so it doesn't create too much dimension. So as you can see, I already cut out the two circles here, as well as a little nose for him. And then I also cut out some snowflakes as well. This was a die that I have in my stash. I believe this was one of the Stampin' Up's die, and I just cut out a whole bunch of snowflakes. There's three snowflakes in this design. And now I wanted to add some white. I'm using the Hero Arts Unicorn pigment white because I wanted to kind of add like a snowflake look, like a falling snow. And here I'm using just like this is a cut and dry foam type of a thing, and I'm trying to squish it in there, but again I can't really get that texture from this stencil because of the raised texture pastes. So this is a Tim Holtz stencils. I believe it's called Speckles, and it kind of looks like snow, so I wanted to use it. So that cut and dry foam didn't work, so here I'm trying with the finger dauber, and that doesn't work as well. I think the little holes were too small, and the snowflake texture behind it was raised up too much, and I couldn't really get a really good impression. I could have used another texture paste and put it on top, but I didn't want to create any more dimension because I wanted to add those book page snowflakes. So here I just grabbed this little dots, little specks of dots stamp set from my stash. There's a lot of splatter stamp sets out there that you can use that has just little dots. So I'm just using the same pigment ink, and I'm trying to add some dots here and there. And again, right by the snowflakes that is textured was a little challenging because I couldn't really get my stamp in there. So I grabbed this unicorn. This is a Hero Arts white spray. So I sprayed some, and later on I dripped some as well to create different splatter effects. You can use a gesso and water it down a little bit and use a paintbrush and kind of splatter it as well. So here I'm just splattering on some more white specks. And these dry a little bit lighter, so right now it looks really bright, but once it's dried it kind of mutes down a little bit, but it's still white enough. So I came back and I've done some things here. All the texture paste now is completely dried. So now I'm using some distress ink, and I'm going to go ahead and add some color to on top of the texture paste. So the difference between the Ranger's texture paste and a embossing paste is that the Ranger's texture paste can take color in as far as when you're adding it on top, um, as other embossing paste will resist I guess the ink when you put it on top. But the Ranger's texture paste, you can, it'll take on the color even after like this. You can go ahead and tint your embossing paste to the color that you want, and then use that. But when I first started this, I wanted to actually paint the snowflakes using my silk acrylic glaze, but then I didn't want to add on additional colors, so I just went ahead and grabbed this peacock feathers that kind of matched with the background, and I'm just dabbing on some color, just using the foam and just blotting it on so that it's not so stark white and it kind of blends in with the background, but yet it still has that texture. And here I grabbed that scroll stamp again because, as you can see, the scroll stamp is kind of hidden underneath all of the textures that I created. So I'm adding additional, and I can really press it down because the texture paste is completely dried. So around the top it was kind of hard because of the rings that's up there. Excuse me. So I'm just adding some here, and they're using the same ink pad, which is the hydrangea. I think this is like one of my favorite colors. So I've already adhered the snowman using the matte medium. In here I'm showing you that I use that Prima, the splatter stamp, to stamp on some more splatters in the background using the same Hero Arts pigment ink. And now I'm using a white gelato and adding some color to the snowman. And you can also use like a white gesso, but I wanted kind of like the frosty look in a way, so I went ahead and used the gelatos, but I did add a little bit of white gesso on top mixed with it. And because I put matte medium on top of the snowflake when I adhered it, now we can add some color, and we can kind of move the color around before it's dried. So that yellow that I used is one of the Pitt pens from Faber-Castell Design Memory Craft. And again, I'm using the same gelato color that I used for the background, just to add some color around the snowman. I didn't want to add a very strong color to the snowman, because I wanted that text to be visible for him. So I'm just going around the snowman and then blending it out, softening it a little bit with my finger again. And so now I'm going to attach these snowflakes that I cut using the book pages. And when I come back, I'll have a lot of the things done. So I attach them using the same matte medium. And here I printed out this quote. I really love this quote. It says, "If kisses were snowflakes, I'd send you a blizzard." And that was my inspiration for this art journal. I saw this quote on Pinterest, and I really, really love it. And I've added some black acrylic paint using, this is a gift card, and I just added the lines around the quote, which I printed out just on a copy paper. And I've used matte medium to attach the quote as well as the Christmas hat there on the snowman. That's from the Crazy Things stamp set. I had extra one from making the bird, the holiday bird card set I did. And I've added some, you can see that glitter. I use this Bo Bunny glitter paste. This is sugar, so it's just glitter, and it's really beautiful. I've added it to the texture paste snowflakes as well as the sentiment there. And I've also stamped some snowflakes, and I've used the paint, the 13 Arts paint to stamp those snowflakes. And I've colored the book page snowflake with the same gold paint. And then I've added some distress ink around the edges, the blueprint sketch. And this finishes up my art journal. I know this was a little bit long of a video, but I hope you guys enjoyed it, and I'll catch you guys next time. Thank you so much. Bye.